How's the light?
I have no idea. It's good to me.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi friends. So I set up a little bit in my backyard with some golden and black bamboo that I planted here years ago when we moved in. And I set this up because I have a few things I wanted to demonstrate. Because there are some plants in my collection that need some attention, and I figured maybe it was a really good idea to go ahead and show you what I'm about to do. So it includes Marimo moss balls. It's going to include my spider plant that is needing to be transplanted. It's going to include my Sansevieria of 3 different kinds of Sansevieria, 1, 2, 3, and also some little philodendron Brazil that I've been propagating. And I just want to show you some different techniques and some different ideas for you to transplant and display and also propagate your plants. So here we go. I will start with, I think I'm going to start with this big guy because it's the one that I talked about a little while ago. He's actually just in this grass basket I got from Palace, which is a wonderful boutique here in Portland. And a lot of you saw that it was blooming last month. So these are the flowers that have already faded, and they're so beautiful. They are really sticky though. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and cut off this flower stalk and get a better cut than that. And then I'm gonna take it out. So it has been in its same plastic pot from the nursery years ago for a while. And sometimes when Sansevieria bloom, it's because they're stressed out. This is only one bloom, and it bloomed the same time last year, so I don't necessarily think it's stressed out, but it did kind of remind me that this has not ever been repotted. So I'm gonna go ahead and repot it. And like I said, stressed out can just be that it's root bound or that it got too dried out or too wet at some point. I'm not quite sure what, but I just figured it was a good opportunity, and to also show you how you can propagate the leaves of a Sansevieria in with the Marimo moss balls, which is something I love doing for display. It's beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is get this tablecloth really dirty. Okay, so here we go. So as you can see, before I do this, as you can see, this is a pretty big plant. See those leaves? They're pretty tall, really established, and the pot really isn't huge. However, Sansevieria don't really mind being too squished, but I'm really interested to see what the roots underneath here are gonna look like. So here we go. So I'm going to dump them out. For the most part, I'll dump it out over a basket to catch the dirt. And one really good way to release your plants from like a pot down situation, if you want to save the pot, occasionally you have to cut the pot away because it's so stuck. But what I like to do is just kind of squeeze, give it a little bang, and rotate, and squeeze, give it a little bang, rotate. Always try to support your plant. And kind of give it a little bit of a twist. And if that doesn't work, which this one, if it doesn't work without feeling like you're hurting your plant, like you're tearing your plant, then yep, it's good. I was gonna say, then what you can also do is put it back down and loosen it up with a clean knife around the edge of the pot to kind of loosen the roots up that way. So, looking at these roots, this isn't crazy root bound. It's not like the entire thing is roots and there's no soil. But I'm still going to go ahead and transplant it just to show you. Isn't that beautiful? I love looking at Sansevieria because their roots are orange. They're bright orange and they're really beautiful underwater. So I'm going to go ahead and just start to gently pull this baby apart. And if you see, what I like to do is to kind of loosen up the roots like this. Kind of get my thumbs in there. And what I'm trying to do is kind of break it apart so that I can see which ones kind of go with which roots, which stalk and which leaves go with these roots. So for instance, this one, I'm going to try to get the big chunk together. So here we go. Okay, and I can feel it. So what I like to do is also feel kind of where things are really attached. And this is a really big root here. I can show you. See that? Look at that beautiful. That's like the mama root right there. So that's a really big root there. So I kind of want to see where that's, okay, so it's here and it's here. I don't know, and it's here. So I'm gonna have to maybe disturb that one a little bit. Okay, here we go. You want to take your time, by the way. Ripping something apart is never nice. Okay, here we go. So these two look like they might want to go together. They're kind of, see how they're together like that? See, this beautiful new one is about to make, it's about to come up through the dirt and make a new little shoot. So I can do a lot of things with this. I could keep this together. I could also cut it apart. I think I'm going to choose to keep it together. And I actually think I'm going to choose to use this in my biggest Marimo. So this beauty is these 3 Marimo. One of them was gifted to me by the wonderful people who are growing Marimo for my shop now, and 2 of them I got in the last couple years. And these 3 giant Marimo are actually considered super giants. They are between 25 and 35 years old. And if you are going, well, you're about to read my other blog post, if you are following along the Marimo story, they can live up to 200 years. So they're actually this brilliant aquatic plant. It's algae, not moss. That's a misnomer. Apparently it wasn't cute enough to have a algae ball, so they named them moss. But Marimo means, Mari means ball, and mo means moss. I mean algae. So maybe I have that mixed up. No, that's right. I don't speak Japanese. Okay, so once again, I just kind of want to study this baby. I don't want to do anything too disruptive to the plant. So I think what I'm going to do is leave it together. Nope, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to cut it. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Because what I would like to do is take this biggest one and put it in here to display it, and also get the roots really going. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to cut it right in the middle because I'm crazy like that. All right, cutting it in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and remove most of the dirt, because again, what I'm going to do here, and part of the reason why I wanted to show you all, is this is an option when you want to propagate your plants. One way you can do it is put it in a beautiful display. I think of it as like a living arrangement, and you can propagate the roots in water. Isn't that beautiful? So eventually this will all become orange roots. Now, because I just cut this, part of me wants to maybe wait a few days to see if the stem should heal over first. With succulents, you do that. Sansevieria is like, kind of like Hoya. It's like sort of a succulent. Classified, I think technically it is, but I don't really treat it as a succulent so much. But see how this is healed over nicely? I almost wonder if before I go ahead and throw it in here, I might want to let the root heal over about maybe 3 to 5 days. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you, like, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick it in here, and it's going to be this beautiful display. And then I'm going to let the root system grow like crazy. In fact, I'll document it for everyone to make sure you see how this root system starts to really grow. And then I'm going to replant it in a pot, probably in about 2 months maybe, in dirt, and then it'll take off. It'll be like really robust and beautiful root system. Meanwhile, we'll be enjoying it on our dining room table. So that's this guy. So I'm going to put him aside and go on to the next part. So I'm just going to keep separating out these guys. So like this one, for instance, it's so beautiful, has a new shoot. I want to make sure the new shoot has plenty of room too. So for now, I'm just going to stick it right in here. Nope, that's not enough room. It's going to get squished. I'm not going to stick it right in there. Well, no, I'm not going to. I don't want to squish him. He's going to go back in, probably in here, into the original pot with new dirt. And then I'll continue separating out these guys. I might not separate them all out because I already gave it a lot of room. This is a little baby baby. Little baby baby can go in here, and I'll talk about this situation with you. And who else wants to separate? I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably cut this baby in half. Oh, no, this one wants to separate as well. But once again, we have like the mama plant here, mama roots. So I am going to give it a cut. Oh, never mind. It just did that for me. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a cut. This is a really good one for this pot. I'll probably put it in there. And maybe one more. This little guy maybe. Oh, well, you just broke. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right above where it broke, so it still has its root system in place. And I'll probably put this small one right here, this guy. Yeah, that'll go nicely together. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and just cut off this last little one that's kind of far away. Like that. And I will probably put that guy in here with that. So it'll be 1, 2, and then I'm gonna take these original guys and put them back in here and pot it back up. Meanwhile, this one's gonna dry out a few days. This one's gonna get repotted with all kinds of new space. This medium one, it's kind of like small, medium, and large. This medium one's gonna hang out here, and then the tiny ones are gonna go in here. So what I like to do is obviously just fill it up with dirt. I have a whole bunch of new dirt here. I use like kind of a combination of just an organic potting mix and also a little bit of extra pumice, like a succulent mix. I like doing that for the Sansevieria. Also, I've talked about houseplant personalities before. I wrote an article for Gardener's Supply, actually. It's on their website. Kind of talking about how, and actually in my book, now that I think of it, I wrote about houseplant personalities. And if you are someone who loves to over nurture, meaning you love to water your plants like crazy, I always recommend something like a terracotta pot because it dries out, it wicks away the moisture really quickly. And so that's actually something that allows you to water more often. Whereas if you were to pot it up in a ceramic pot, this one doesn't have the hole, but say this one had a drainage hole, this one's gonna retain the moisture more, you're gonna water it less often. So it's kind of, what's your personality? Not necessarily, because there are a lot of plants that can fit your personality, like succulents and cacti, they kind of want to be left alone. Whereas like a fern or a spider plant that is in a really tight fitting situation, which we'll get to later, that's a high needs or an extra nurturing type, like a helicopter plant parent right here. And this is a little bit more that way too with the terracotta versus something that if you were to plant it in just a ceramic, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna fill these all up with soil, and then I think what we'll do is probably go ahead and stop filming and do a second part and maybe a third part to this. And then, like I said, I really definitely am going to do some follow-up videos and pictures of what all these babies look like once they're potted up, and also with the Marimo on display. I really want to get to that too. But I'd like to pay more attention to making sure all of these guys are super happy in their pots first before moving on. And I really like to go ahead and fill it up, kind of hold these guys in place, and then I press it down. I think of it as giving them kind of like a sturdy stance, like their feet get firmly on the ground that way. Their roots have a nice place to hang out and feel more sturdy and established that way. And since I did just cut it, and since it is, again, kind of in my mind, it's kind of like the Hoya, in the Hoya category for me, it's kind of a succulent. I don't want to water it right away. I'm going to give it a couple days. Oh, I have an earwig. Look, my least favorite bug. Here we go. Ready? Let's go away. Woo! Okay. I hate earwigs. I shouldn't say that. I don't hate any bug. They scare me a little bit. They're a little creepy. Okay, So that one has a nice firm foothold. Okay, so that one's done. This one I'd like to talk about just for a moment. In the past I have talked about how if you're gonna pot something with no drainage holes, kind of the way to do that. It's not something I like to actually encourage, but I do it all the time. So I kind of wanted to tell everyone how to do it. What I do, and there's a lot of people who are like, don't do it because it's gonna rot the roots and it's all these things. Okay, I believe you. I haven't had that experience yet. So I'm not gonna tell you you should do this. I'm gonna tell you that I have done it in probably half of my houseplants. So I basically, the first inch or two is pea gravel, and then I do succulent soil, and then I plant the pot, or I plant up the plant with potting soil, whatever medium it's supposed to go with. So today though, I'm gonna show you the proper way. And the proper way to pot up something without drainage holes is this. So you take your vessel that you want, you take some sort of a liner like this with holes, and you can even put some smaller than this rocks at the bottom, and then you put it in here and kind of hide the pot. Does that make sense? And then you go ahead and pot it up. Again, I know I can get in trouble for saying it's not necessary and that you could go ahead and just plant it up with the pebbles, but I don't want to get in trouble with a lot of other plant people out there. I'm just telling you my experience. And I did write a whole article about this and a blog post actually, because in my experience, as long as you know your plant, you really get to know your plant and your plant's needs, you're gonna recognize when something is going wrong if it's overwatered or underwatered. But again, I'm not gonna encourage it. This is the proper way. So there you go, really cute thing. And I'm gonna top this off with some moss, so you can't see this part. Just top it off with moss, make it all pretty. And again, I'm gonna wait a couple days to really water it and really go for it. And then this last one, I'm gonna do the same. Back in its original pot. So, this one's a little it's a little wonky, it kind of falls a lot. So it's a bit of a juggle. And Sansevieria really love, they're considered like a low light plant. However, that's just because they can handle low light. That doesn't mean that's what they prefer. I actually saw a whole maybe 50 feet hedge of these on the big island of Hawaii a couple years ago, and they were in the full sun. They didn't look amazing. They looked like they could probably use a little shade, but they were fine and they were growing like crazy. So it's not that Sansevieria love to be in no light, it's that they can handle it better than a lot of plants. So I actually really like to give mine really bright indirect light. It's kind of like the ideal situation. And as you guys know, I move my plants around seasonally. Not all of them, but a lot of them, to give them the most optimal lighting situation during the winter versus the summer. Okay, got that guy a nice foothold as well. I'll probably top that off with a little bit of moss, and I'll water everything again in a couple days. So that, my friends, is how you divide and plant and then propagate Sansevieria. So this one, like I said, I'm gonna let it heal over, and then I'm gonna put it in the space, and I will show you pictures once it's really going, because it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful idea to plant it up with Marimo. That's actually something I'm gonna do with my spider plant and also with my philodendron. I'm gonna put these guys on display that way. All right, friends, cheers. Really long.